Hello, welcome to another episode of Read With Me. I'm yours truly, Isabel Bedell, and I'm here to read with you on a beautiful day. So nice today. And we are entering chapter 9, Evolve or Die, on this amazing book, Big Money Energy by Ryan Serhant. Such a great book. If you have not read chapter 8, or if you haven't listened to chapter 8, make sure to do so. It is a two-part chapter because it is filled with some juicy stuff. So Evolve or Die is going to be a really amazing chapter. I can feel it in my bones. And just like any other chapter in this book, which has been incredible, it's full of energy. So let's get into it, right? So it's energy, right? This chapter starts off with this part. It reads, "There's something extraordinary about you, and people know it. It's clear that you're powerful, but it's balanced out by your warmth and friendliness, and everyone around you wants to soak up some of your light. You are fascinating yet approachable, fiercely intelligent but easy to talk to. Your energy is so bright and infectious that people are lining up to meet you. You are the picture of big money energy." I love that. It's like a little love letter. Here we go. Evolve or die. As 2019 was coming to a close, I knew I was of the most fortunate human beings in the entire planet. My amazing wife, Amelia, and I had expanded from a pair to a trio. Our daughter, Zena, was almost a year old and already sharing her opinions on real estate by babbling loudly every time I took a call with a client. The renovations on our family townhouse in Brooklyn were moving along slowly but surely, and the Serhant team had dominated the rankings, selling nearly $1 billion a year for 3 years in a row. If you add in what we put into contract, we did nearly 1.5 billion in transactions in 2019 alone. If that weren't enough, I wrote my first book, Sell It Like Serhant, and Vlog, an online sales course, were exploding with success. The membership course had added nearly 4,000 students in over 70 countries in less than 5 months. I was killing it. And then, hello, nice to meet you, brand new decade. As we ushered in 2020, I wanted to shout, "I'm king of the world," from the terrace of my penthouse like I was Leonardo DiCaprio on the Titanic. And I had it all, and I was so grateful. As I reflected on how not too long ago I didn't have enough money in the bank to buy groceries, I had to wonder, is this it for me? Life is great, but what is next? Should I just stop and be happy with everything I already have? Should I just settle and be okay with being okay? As I shivered on my terrace, channeling my inner LDC, it occurred to me that after his dramatic proclamation on the whole of that ship, things started to go really wrong. We all know what happened. The luxury liner was believed to be such a marvel of engineering that it was unsinkable. Nothing can take his ship down. It is impenetrable. Wait, did we just hit an iceberg? Oh shit. The Titanic started sinking slowly. In about 2.5 hours later, she plunged to her death in icy waters of the North Atlantic Ocean, tragically taking 1,500 souls. As I looked around, the lights of New York City sparkling like icicles, I thought, wow, I could go down too. Nothing is unsinkable. If I didn't change course, I was going to become very complacent. What could I do to stay on top of my game? Change is a constant when it comes to achieving success in anything. If you commit to an exercise plan dutifully, working out every day, you will see positive results. People will notice, wow, you look awesome. You've made great progress. Your favorite jeans fit. You feel so good, you want to take it even further. So you keep going to the gym, doing the same workout that has gotten you this far. But, the magic seems to be gone. What's up? What's up is that change is the spice of life. And without it, life tastes bland. Lots of people will tell you change is unnecessary or don't try to fix something that's not broken. I think that is total bullshit. If you aren't evolving, you are dying out. If you think you can just sit back and go with the flow because you've achieved a certain level of success, you're going to sink eventually. Whether you are a CEO of a profitable business that you started or a top dog at a corporate company, you have to stay one step ahead of everyone else. I'm going to underline, if you aren't evolving, you are dying out. And I also like the line where it's like, change is the spice of life, and without it, it tastes bland, because I'm a huge foodie. In 2019, I ended the decade on top of the world as the top broker in New York City working for someone else. It was time to change, anticipate, modify, or up my game if I didn't want to start sinking. No way was I going to let everything I had worked for fizzle out and die. I'd have to look beyond my current success to see what was out on the horizon. What would I find if I kept pushing forward and exploring? After much contemplation, fretting, planning, and exciting discussions with my team about what is possible, it's so much, I decided to launch Serhant. It wasn't easy, but leaving the brokerage where I had worked my entire career felt like getting a divorce, and there were so many legal issues to sort out and terms to negotiate. Serhant is the most followed real estate brand in the world, calibrated for the marketplace of tomorrow, delivering proven results for buyers, sellers, and developers. Serhant revolutionizes the traditional brokerage model by innovating through media and content creation, and is powered by a full-service in-house film studio as well as an amplification platform that puts our properties in front of more people than anyone else. Well, I was excited to build a brand new business of my own. It also meant kissing my first place status goodbye. Starting over meant I would now officially be in last place. That was a hard pill to swallow, but it meant there was nowhere to go but up. But apparently, I could go down even further than I imagined. Here comes the $72 million day from hell. Prep for the new business was heavily underway with big plans. And I was still selling a significant amount of real estate while transitioning from my previous brokerage to my very own company. It was all happening, and it was such an adrenaline rush. And spring 2020, COVID-19 shuts down the world and then the entire city. People are getting sick and dying, and the economy is tanking. The stock market sells off 10,000 points seemingly overnight. Restaurants, bars, stores, gyms, hair salons, and offices have all shut down. The city that never sleeps is eerily quiet. The panicked calls from clients were coming in constantly. Hi, Ryan, we've decided to now move forward with the buying the brownstone on the Upper West Side. It's not the right time for us to upgrade given what's going on. Hey, Ryan, New York is dead. I'm pulling my contract. Hey, Ryan, my family and I decided to move to Montana and buy a rare buffalo farm because that seems to be the rational choice for us right now. Sorry, we won't be signing that $20 million contract you negotiated for us for 6 months. The real estate market is New York City. And New York City had been decimated due to COVID-19. I'm not going to lie, I was terrified. I had just taken out the biggest financial risk of my life when I decided to start my own company, which no one knew, by the way. I was about to have a huge payroll to cover and massive other expenses. Everyone was gripped by fear, not buying. How would I survive? I actually considered backing out and going back to my old employer and just staying put. It's not the right time. Surely everyone would agree that it's ridiculous time to start a new company. It wouldn't matter if I waited another year before I took the plunge. I worried constantly about what the right course of action was. I lost so much sleep. Each phone call and email from another stressed out client weighed on me. The pressure was so heavy, it was tempting to lie down and let it crush me. And when I was with my previous broker, they covered all the overhead, rent, expenses, payroll, marketing, everything. In exchange for a percentage of my commission, I was only responsible for the livelihood of my team, and it was scary. I felt like I was down for the count, and it was the worst feeling ever. When I thought about putting the new company on hold, it didn't feel any better. I craved the independence, the newness, the possibilities. I didn't want to give up on myself, but how could I find the energy to wade through this huge mess? It's not like I hadn't had to pick myself up before. Back in August of 2019, I experienced what I now refer to as Hell Monday. If Hell Monday were a movie, there would be scenes of me going to the gym and getting ready for work with ominous music playing and dark lighting to clearly indicate something awful is going to happen to that guy. New York real estate is intrinsically tied to the rises and brutal falls of the stock market. Whether or not a buyer is financially affected by a crashing stock market, the simple fear when the market goes into the red is enough to make any buyer in New York panic and pull out of any transaction. New Yorkers have a thick skin, but no one has forgotten the financial crisis, and everyone is convinced the next one is always right around the corner. That Monday in August, the Dow Jones Industrial Average began to plummet on fears that China would retaliate against the US, given Trump's recent tariff threats. By lunchtime, the market had sold off 950 points. I had been fielding calls all day from clients, doing my best to reassure them, saying things like, the stock market goes up and down, and we are so far up from 2016, this little blip shouldn't deter you from the home you're about to buy to raise a family in for years and years. Whatever I said didn't matter. I still got the calls like, hi, Ryan. So my buyer has decided not to take the penthouse in Chelsea. Well, why? He decided to pursue a different path. What does that even mean? You can't live on a path? Damn! Another buyer drops out to fear. I was riffling through my bags of ideas, trying to save the deal when my phone rang again, with equally bad news about brownstone in Brooklyn. Hell Monday was relentless. It was like one punch in the face after another. Deals were falling through, people were backing out, and none of my usual rescue tactics were working. By the end of Hell Monday, we had lost 11 deals, totaling $72 million. Wow, that's crazy. That's a lot of deals, right? There are always deals that fall apart, but I had never lost so many in 1 week, much less a day. It was crazy and it sucked so bad. I had never faced so much loss all at once. What if this was just the beginning? If things got worse, what would happen to me and my family? What would happen to my team? Would I have to use my sales skills to sell snake oil on the street? Was the anxiety I was feeling actually the start of a massive coronary? Oh my God, I'm going to drop dead in my office. I'm too young. The flood of feelings I faced that day were so overwhelming, they hurt. But there's something you need to know about that moment you lose a huge deal, or get fired, or face a massive disappointment, or even have a full-on hell day. It's not just a shitty day, it's also the moment when the people who win are separated from everyone else. And which camp do you want to live in? Camp win or camp lose? As I sat around, as I sat surrounded by the carnage of dead deals at the end of Hell Monday, I knew I didn't want this mess to be my legacy. I was number one at the beginning of the day. I didn't want this hard work. I don't want this hard to watch it. I didn't want this hard. I didn't work this hard to watch it all go down the drain. Part of me just wanted to put my head down on my desk and cry. And maybe I did for a little while, yes. But I couldn't spend the rest of my life hiding in this office. I had to find the strength to tap into my energy reserves and keep going. I got out my calendar and put a big fat red circle around the date that fell 4 weeks after Hell Monday. I jotted down the feelings I was having: despair, fear, anger, frustration, desperation. I also wrote down $72 million to remind myself of the horror. Life and work went on. Well, I was obviously worried about the loss of commission on that huge number. I had to accept that I couldn't get it back. I had to forge ahead to make new deals and take on new listings. I was determined to survive this blow. 4 weeks later, I saw that red circle. It had been a month since the worst day of my career. Did the anger and all of those other gross feelings vanish immediately? Well, no, they didn't. But I was walking and talking ball of range a month later. Not as much. I was alive. I was still standing, and that meant I could survive. Big money energy is about rising above, searching for the light in the darkest and gloomiest of places. When I marked that date on my calendar, I was training my brain to seek out the positive energy. It's always there to be found, but sometimes, especially after a loss, you have to take a little more time and look a little bit harder, but it's always there. I do this after every major loss, and my mind doesn't get as easily stressed or angered by those things I can't control. Other people's decisions don't upset me as much. I know that with time I will heal. So I live in the moment and no longer waste a single minute of my life on dread or fear. Dread is dead to me. When you're facing a big career loss of any kind, it's not the time to sit idly and wait for things to magically improve. During this pandemic, lots of people have told me to sit tight, hang on, and wait for the New York City market to come back. Well, no, thank you. I might have been knocked on my ass, but I wasn't going to stay sprawled out on the sidewalk while everyone else stepped over my crumpled body. I was going to double down. I was going to speed up without losing control. I didn't really know what was on the other side, but I wasn't going to wait for everyone to pass me by. While everyone else was cutting back, remaining calm and waiting it out, I was going to go harder. I'd hire more team members, more admin, get a new office space, rethink my approach, and rework my business plan. When you're faced with a loss, take action, any action. Ask yourself what you can do right now to plan your own comeback. Take initiative. Initiative is your life raft. I love him so much. Okay, you have control. When I started my new company, I had fantasies of making a huge splash with our first sale. I imagined selling a $30 million penthouse on Billionaires Row on our first day, something that would catch everyone's attention. The headlines in my mind read, "Ryan and his new company dominate." Instead, my first client wasn't a nice rental. I thought my rental days were long gone, but I was in uncharted waters with the shutdown, and I wasn't in a position to be picky. Asha and Arjun were from San Francisco, but they had a passion for showing their daughters the world and wanted to spend a year living in New York City. They wanted a 3 or 4 bedroom apartment and had a budget of $10,000 a month. I showed them several great options, and they were having trouble choosing. I decided to show them one more apartment in Tribeca that I knew they would love. It was a great location. It had fantastic views and it had a large outdoor space, which I knew was very important to them. "We like to be close to the stars," Asha had said. I could tell they loved the apartment as soon as we walked in. Wow, how much is the rent for this one, Ryan? Asha was smiling from ear to ear. I suspected she was picking out furniture in her mind. Well, actually, this one is 12.5 million. It's actually not a rental. And then before Asha and Arjun could speak, I told them with the interest rates being so low, it was actually cheaper in the long run to buy than rent. We started with a lowball offer of 6 million because who wouldn't want an apartment at 55% off? After more back and forth than a tennis match, we got to 8 million flat, and the developer would credit them $1 million in closing costs and furniture. Asha and Arjun now own their own little part of Manhattan, close to the stars, for a significant discount. I was so thrilled to have turned my renters into buyers that I put on a star-spangled suit to celebrate their closing. Here's code number 14. Starting over isn't starting from scratch. You still have your skills and experience. It's not starting over, it's starting again. I love that. I only made the sale because after the entire city shut down, I forced myself to take one small step. I didn't want to revisit rentals at the stage of my career, but I just needed to keep moving. Taking on that rental led me to an unexpected sale. The sale gave me the energy I needed to keep going. And while business hasn't necessarily recovered, I'm confident I can survive because I'm 1,000% prepared for whatever will hit me in the face next. I don't know what the next week, month, or even year will bring, but I'm prepared to be flexible, to evolve and adapt so I can make it through whatever craziness comes next. Alien invasion, zombies, land sharks, you name it. No matter what happens, remember, you have the control. You can stand up and take one step at a time. It doesn't have to be big. You don't have to wait for someone to tell you it's safe or if it's a good idea. You have the power to take a single step. You have the power to create the change you want. I love this. And he actually has an exercise here, which I want to read to you as well. It's called the positive/negative challenge. And he has an exercise. When it comes to a day in the life of someone with big money energy, positive always wins. You have to train yourself, gravitate towards a positive, high five yourself for the small wins, and let negative shit fade into the background. Back when my family used to call me crying Ryan, because I cried constantly, I could find the dark spot in any situation. Disneyland, so hot, long lines, Mickey Mouse is weird, Christmas, it's only 24 hours and I'm asleep for like a third of it. You can't solve the injustice of the world, but you can stop living in the dark cloud of your own making. There's an easy way to break this habit. Take a piece of paper and fold it down the middle. As you move through the day, write the good things down on the positive side and the negative things down on the other. If your oatmeal tasted good at breakfast, write that down. Every time you notice something positive, add it to the list. Keep doing the challenge until your positive side is so much longer than the negative. On the massive mindfuck that was Hell Monday, my positive/negative exercise would have looked like this. And on the positive side, actually, I'm going to read the negative side first, and then I'm going to end it with the positive. Okay. So the negative side on his paper it has 3 points. 1, had the worst day of my life at work ever. 2, I'm overwhelmed and scared for what's next. And then 3, I lost so much money. That's his negatives. And then on the right side, with the positive side, he said, lifted heavier weights at the gym before work, got to work without being run over by a taxi. I'm actually alive. I have a family and friends. There is food in my refrigerator. My team is hardworking and awesome. I love that exercise. And sometimes, you can get stuck in the whole, you know, how he called it, the little cloud that you can create, you know, or the self-made cloud. But it's so important to train your mind, train your thoughts. That's what really gets you going, you know? So if you found value from this chapter, I think this one was the most like raw chapter in this book. Make sure to hit like, make sure to hit subscribe, make sure to share this with a friend. You deserve it. You definitely deserve it. And you know, a $72 million day. I mean, if you've had that type of day, kudos out to you. I hope you do the positive and negative challenge exercise, because I know I will. And I'm excited for a day where I get to make $72 million. It will happen. All right, cool. Well, I'll talk to you soon. Have a beautiful, blessed day and stay positive. Ciao.